Hi there, everybody. It's me again, Jack Wallen. It is Christmas Eve. I don't know how you feel about that, but I kind of like the holiday season. It's nice and warm and cozy and friendly, and people are happy for the most part. Anyway, this is kind of a special time of year for me, and mostly because it reminds me of my father, because he loved Christmas quite a bit, and I always try to honor him every year. But that's not what I'm going to talk about, because honoring my father is all about me, very personal thing. Oh, by the way, I'm using a new lens. I bought a new lens for my camera. I use Mica full frame prime lenses, and this is a 35 millimeter lens. I've been using a 24 millimeter lens, which is wider, so it feels like I'm a little bit closer to you. Isn't that fun? Yeah. Okay. What I want to talk about. First and foremost, my channel here has kind of split into two different themes. One is all about Linux, the operating system, and the other is all about art. This one, this particular entry, is all about art. So if you're an artist, you're in the right place. If you're looking to view some more Linux content, you have to wait till Thursday, but please continue watching. You might learn something, or you might get a little bit more insight into who and what I am. Okay, what do I want to talk about today? Other than the fact it's really cold in my studio. Hence the sweatshirt. Okay, stay on target, stay on target. I want to talk about compromise. As an artist, compromise is a dirty word. It may as well only have 4 letters in it, because compromise is a 4-letter word for many artists. But does it have to be? Do we really have to look at compromise as an offense to our artistry? For the longest time, that's kind of how I looked at it. I viewed any type of compromise, be it with regards to my writing, my acting, anything. I viewed it as something that I refused to accept. I bet you can imagine that I didn't get very far with that. But how do you, as an artist, compromise without feeling like you're compromising your art? That is a complex idea. Or it seems like it. Now, granted, everything I'm going to talk about is from my own personal experience. But I'm pretty sure that it can transfer. Sometimes these topics are a little bit difficult for me to talk about, because I have to admit to things that are kind of a hard pill to swallow. It's okay. A few weeks ago, when I was filming another scene for Me and My Muse with 2 very wonderful people, the other actor, we were sitting across from each other getting ready to film this scene, and the other actor looked at me and he said, "You know, I don't do a lot of theater anymore. As much as I love it, I really don't have the time, and I'm kind of dedicating most of my energy towards building a new business." And when he said that, he didn't say that with pain or disdain or hurt or sadness or regret. It was just fact. And now he's in his 60s, and he's done quite a lot of theater, especially in this community. And I could tell that he had reached a point in his life where he was okay with that decision. And I immediately related to it. Because for the first few decades of my life, I knew exactly what I wanted to be. I knew exactly what I was put on this earth to do, and that was to act. And I did it. I actually had a career as an actor. And it was beautiful. It was an absolutely beautiful thing. And had you asked me 25 years ago, will you ever give this up? I would have said, oh, hell no. This is my life. This is what I was put on this earth to do. I will not, in any way, shape, or form, give this up. This is the thing that defines me. And I was serious about it. There was no way I could conceive of a life wherein I was not acting. Even though I knew how challenging it was. I knew that a professional actor's primary job is finding work. And even when you land a gig, you're still thinking ahead, what's the next gig? Because you know, every job you get as an actor is a temporary thing. You are a temp. And I was very, very fortunate that I landed a gig as a rep company actor and had that job for 10 years, 10 glorious years. And it spoiled me. The whole time I thought, this is what it's all about. But as they say, all good things come to an end. And when that job was no longer available, when the rep company for that theater dissolved, I knew I had to move on. And my choices were very limited, especially here in Louisville, Kentucky, where I live. My options truly were to move. I would have had to move to New York, LA, Chicago, any one of the big markets. And I had to do some serious soul searching. And eventually I decided that I didn't want to relocate. Louisville is very easy and cheap to live in. And I trusted myself that I would find ways to fulfill that need. I would compromise my artistry. Now, I got lucky again, and I happened onto a career as a writer, which fulfilled that need to create. And I've been doing it ever since. Now, even that has come with compromises. But here's the thing, and this is the thing that will save you from a dark spiral of madness. There are different levels of compromise within the world of art, I believe. Again, this is just me making this up. I am talking off the cuff here. But I believe that there are different levels of compromise as an artist. The big one that nobody wants, is less a compromise and more a sacrifice. Where you say, I no longer am capable of making a living as an artist, so I have to give it up and do something else. That's a sacrifice. That's at the top, and that's not the one you want to deal with, ever. The next one is kind of what I went through. It's a compromise of choice. I had the choice of moving to a larger city and starting pretty much all over as an actor, hoping that I could find some level of success. Or I could stay where I was, living an easier life that's not nearly as expensive as one of the big cities, and find a new way to create. And that was a compromise I was willing to make, knowing that I would still be able to find a way to fulfill that need to act. The difference being is that in this city of Louisville, there's less opportunity to act as a professional actor in the Actors Union, Actors Equity Association. So I had to pretty much give up my membership of Actors Equity so I could perform in non-union shows. And I was okay with that, mostly because I knew that even when I wasn't acting, I still had art that I could create and share. And that's meaningful. That is the thing that kept me going. That was a compromise I was willing to make. It was a big one. It was a very big compromise. And after some soul searching, as I said, I decided it was a compromise I was willing to make. Because I didn't feel like, and this is where I'm kind of going, I didn't feel like I was actually compromising my art. Now, there are different levels of compromising your art. The level that I feel is that I'm not willing to go to is, for example, writing a book that I don't want to write. Writing a book that is filled with ideas and characters and story arcs and things that are unsavory to me. Here's a really good example, and this is something that I decided on, I think it was 2016 or 2017. And I think I've mentioned this before, but it bears repeating. Back then, I remember it was right after that horrible mass shooting in Las Vegas. And I remember I was exercising in front of the television and the news came on and was talking about it. And it hit me really hard. And in that moment, I told myself, I vowed to myself that I would never put another gun in any book I ever wrote again. And that was a compromise I was willing to make because it spoke to my soul, and it was something I felt was really important. And now, I'm at a point now where if someone came to me and said, I need you to write this book, it's all about a gun dealer, whatever, blah, 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 I would say no. I'm not willing to make that compromise. And there are other ideological things that I'm not willing to compromise on. Like, simple enough, I won't kill a cat in a book. I won't kill a dog in a book. I won't do that. I will not write about rape. There are all sorts of other things that I have an ethical and moral problem with, and I won't write about them. I'm not willing to make those compromises. Now, there are things that I'm willing to compromise on, and I've had to make those compromises with my editor on a number of occasions. For example, here's a really good example here. So I wrote the Ghosts of Brookhaven series, which is 3 books. The Ghosts of Brookhaven, The Haunting of Lily Marchbanks, and I can't even remember the other book. It's problematic when you've written as many books as I have. You don't remember all the titles. You don't remember the order they came in. But anyway, so I wrote these 3 books as adult books. And my editor was working on, I think she was working on the 3rd book in the series, and she came to me and she said, I think this series would make a great YA series. What do you think? And I thought about it. I pondered that. And in the end, I realized that she was right. That there are themes in that book that I believe are important for younger readers to learn. And that was a compromise that I was more than willing to make. I've made other compromises. Probably the single most challenging compromise I've made was when I wrote I, Zombie I. I originally wrote that in first-person present tense. It was very complicated. It was probably one of the hardest first drafts I've ever written. I was very proud of it because it was so complicated and I felt like I managed to pull it off. But then when my editor read it, she said, I think this book would be better in 3rd person past tense. I think we really need to rewrite that. I gave it some thought, and this one was a challenging one for me. And eventually I said, okay, let's do it. Not realizing how challenging it was going to be to completely rewrite a novel from first person present tense to 3rd person past tense. But in the end, it came out better for doing it. So that was a compromise I was very, very glad to make. But here's the thing. You, as an artist, have to decide what kind of compromises you are willing to make for your art. Are you willing to move to a different city where there are more opportunities, but at the same time more challenges? Are you willing to write themes and ideas that might go against your ethics and morals? Are you willing to write in a genre that you've never written for because you believe that it could be a gateway to more sales? Are you willing to give up something that you feel like is crucial to your existence as an artist? Are you willing to move from one medium to another? And to answer the question, at least for me, I always have to step back and say, how will this affect my artistic soul? And I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds like esoteric and just, it's a little crazy. But if you think about it, if you're an artist, you understand the artistic soul and the artistic heart. And you know how fragile they can be. Because trust me, they are. I have had my artistic heart broken so many times. I have had my artistic soul squeezed until every last drop of hope, energy, and love, and desire, and passion just vanished. And when that occurs, it takes a Herculean effort to replenish it. And you have to decide for yourself what kind of compromises will not lead you down that kind of rabbit hole where you're having to replenish your artistic heart or soul. But here's the complication, is that at some point along the way in your artistic career, you will have to make a compromise. It's inevitable. And when that happens, before you make that compromise, before you make any sort of decision on that, ask yourself, how will this affect me? How will it affect my art? How will it affect my future? And how will it affect my heart and soul? I know that's a lot to consider, but it's really important that as an artist, you address those things. Because if you don't, and you make that compromise without considering those, you're going to regret it. And sometimes you might make a compromise that you can't walk back. You might be asked by a publisher or anybody else to write a certain book. And just out of the sheer thrill of being asked to do that, you may say, of course, yes, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to work with you. I want to be a writer in your pool, and let's do this. And then you get into the first chapter of writing that book and say, I should not have done this. This is not who I am. This is not going to do any good for my art. So be willing to ask yourself those challenging questions, and always, always consider the effect they will have on your artistic self. Because if you don't, that's a regret that you're going to have trouble squaring with your heart, your soul, your mind, and everything. Compromise is just something we have to do. It's just like rejection. It's kind of part of the thing, kind of part of the gig. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. Now, at the same time, I have been in shows where a director has come to me and said, I don't think what you're doing here works. And they wanted me to compromise. They wanted me to not, there was no compromise. They would just want me to not do this. And I said, hold on. And I gave them I explained my justification for what I was doing. And I said, is there a compromise that we can make between what you want and what I want, what I feel the character needs? And almost always there is. So sometimes compromise is actually a good thing, because it avoids you having to just jettison this thing that you've created, or this idea you have for a character, and gives the other person, be it a director, an editor, a publisher, the feeling that they're getting what they want. And don't be afraid. And don't be afraid to go to that editor or director or publisher and say, hey, you want this, I want this, where can we meet in the middle? Is there a place we can meet in the middle? Or if not the middle, can we meet 70% on your side, 30% on my side, 60% on your side, 40% on my side? Where is the compromise that we can make? Because you are the one person on this planet that will always want to stand up for your art. And you've got to advocate for it at every turn. And there you go. That's how to deal with compromise as an artist. It doesn't have to be a four-letter word. Thank you so very much for spending a little time with me, especially on this Christmas Eve. Ho, ho, ho. I hope that you have had a joyous holiday season filled with hope, possibility, and love and warmth. And I hope that you and everyone you know and love have a wonderful, wonderful day.